Welcome to the Lineman Lounge, hosted by Mike and Evo, calling their shots and being outlandish.
Breaking news from the Lineman Lounge. My fantasy football team just took a huge fucking hit. And that also makes it even more likely that the Raiders are going to beat the Ravens on Monday night. Le'Veon Bell is about to be your starter. Latavius Murray is going to go there as well. Jesus, fuck my ass.
Get ready for the thickest podcast in the game. Coming to you from Hangar 6, where sleeves are optional. Strap in. The show starts right now.
¿Cómo están, bitches? This is the Lineman Lounge. I am Mike, the man. To my right is Thick Evo, and we are going to have a little bit of an interesting show today. As you can see, he is not in his beautiful purple room. The man is out in the sun, or I think what might be the sun, but with no power, off the phone.
Yeah.
How you doing, big guy?
The living room, yeah. About 15 minutes before we were supposed to kick off the show, apparently the entire town's power went down or something like that. So I'm off the phone. So we're doing this truly live.
We're fucking doing it live, baby.
So it should be good to go. But how you doing, Mike? How's it going out there in Ohio?
Oh man, I'm good. It is it's still very cold. It's been a long ass week, but I'm pumped to be here. Got some basketball games coming up that I'm calling for the Cleveland State women. Very excited to get back out there and call some games. Wrestling, we got that going on, but this weekend I don't have much of anything to do but homework, and most of that's just not due until Tuesday. So I'm ready to sit back, drink a couple beers, and watch some badass playoff football. Conference championship week. These two games have the potential to be better games than the actual Super Bowl. So I love conference championship weekend. We saw it last year with the Chiefs and the Bills. That was the greatest game I have ever seen. And so this is great football, and I'm pumped to get into the show, get started.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, we do have 4 really good teams in this conference championship weekend, which should hopefully make out to be a pretty damn good Super Bowl, which is exciting for everyone if you're not a fan of those teams in particular. But it should be a pretty awesome setup to the Super Bowl. Whereas sometimes it seems like you have maybe a lower end team somehow kind of slipping their way through or get some calls going their way, and it feels like a team that doesn't deserve to be where they're at. All these teams are really good. They all feel like they deserve to be where they're at.
Yeah, absolutely agree, man. It stinks that we missed on our Super Bowl picks that the Bills did not get to go through. But I don't know that I would have traded. There's no 2 better teams in the NFC. The 2 best teams made it there. And I think the second and the third best team in the AFC made it there. The Bills, well, I mean, we're going to get into that as we start breaking down games from last week. But, it was
I'll
tough.
say this. I had 2 parlays last week that I actually bet. Both 4-game parlays. I just kind of switched up where I was taking money lines versus taking some of the points and things like that. And I also ran one of them as a round robin. I hit on every single bet last weekend, got myself a pretty significant amount of money. So I was very happy with that as those games were going on. So even though our Super Bowl pick wasn't correct, I had actually picked Cincy +5 or 5.5 or something like that on all of those bets, because I just kind of felt like, hey, they're going to keep this kind of close the way that they've been playing. And so it worked out well for me. But not the team. We're not seeing our Bills in the playoffs anymore, not going to the Super Bowl. But there are some issues with that team, and we saw that come out.
Yeah, and I just want to confirm, as we'll get ready to pull them up here, and we'll talk about some of the games from last week, that for the show, you went Bills money line, correct? Or did you take Bengals plus the points on the show as well?
I might have taken the Bills money line. I'm not sure. I'll have to rewatch.
Okay. I'll have to go back as well, because I have you down as Bills money line, so I had you down missing that game, thinking that there was going to be some problems with parlays, but you did tell me that you changed some different things and got some parlays going. What's up? Shout out Joe Rockstar and Mung Vu. Couple of big
Gucci.
old Niners. Yeah, Ducci Vu. Love that guy. Actually, just watched a video of him this morning getting some shooting in. So, but do you got anything else that before we start rolling into kind of a recap of some of the games last week to preview our games for this week that we want to talk about? Kind of get tossed in because you sports wise, we don't have much of anything going on here. Still waiting on Graydon's tournament. Any U Sports, your neck of the woods that we want to get into before we start diving into other stuff?
Well, if there's any youth sports going on out here that's big and popping off, I really wouldn't be aware of it because I actually spent a majority of the week out in your neck of the woods, out in that lake effect snow. Was out in Ohio for the week, and then nice 12 plus hours in O'Hare trying to get back in time. And I must have picked up some sort of a stomach bug on my way back because I spent all yesterday on the toilet. So it was pretty sweet. And I still am in that general mindset. So I've been drinking protein shakes and Gatorade and still can't trust a fart. So we all know how that is. It's not that embarrassing to shit your pants, right?
No, I mean, it depends on how and within the fashion in which you shit your pants, but you know,
I'm
whatever.
a grown ass man. And I shit my pants. It happens. So it's actually fortuitous.
Anybody who's been
I'm on this
deployed
phone
probably has
because
had that happen.
I'm on the phone. It's fortuitous. If I run away real quick, I might just take y'all with me. We might get to have an
I was going to say,
together.
do not bring the camera. Do not bring the phone with.
All right, fair enough. I mean, if you see me running, just cut my feet, I guess.
Got it. All right. Oh, actually, we do have a comment here. So before we, great. Before we get into football, producer Amber. So I feel like we should probably listen to her. I want to talk about the baseball olds before we talk football. It's not the same baseball as back then. So we were having a discussion this morning, producer Amber and I, and made a comment about some of the olds of baseball. And I don't understand. It seems to be just a baseball thing that the older generation just absolutely cannot get on board with the idea that athletes are better now than they were back then. And they absolutely cannot stand the idea of advanced analytics being a part of their game. It's all about do they look good, like the old like Moneyball type shit. All they care is about batting average and you know those basic antiquated stats. And it drives me crazy because I feel like it's only baseball people that refuse to acknowledge any of those things about their sport.
I don't know. I guess I haven't noticed that. Is that something that we're seeing more in like other sports personalities talking about the game or something? Or
so I don't think so. It doesn't happen in other sports. Like when there's a comparison of old football to new football. Almost all of the old guys are like, oh, like we were really good, but we couldn't hang with the guys of newer age. There's always kind of that respect that, you know, and it's been proven that athletes are getting bigger, faster, and stronger. But with the Hall of Fame vote just happened. Only one guy got in, and then there's always a comparison of numbers, right? This guy's numbers aren't as good as this guy's numbers. And then you get into advanced analytics, like you're talking about OBP plus and B-War and all of that shit. And the olds just cannot get with the numbers. So that's what we were talking about. I don't know if you have any kind of opinion on that, because do you see any other sport, maybe a little bit in basketball, where the older generation just refuses to believe that the newer guys are doing it maybe better than they were?
I suppose the only thing that I can really think that's akin to that in my mind is that change in the golf world between live golf and the old PGA. PGA is an old white man sport. It's draped in tradition and things like that.
Right.
You're quiet out there on the golf course and very professional, and everyone's got a collared shirt on and pants. It might be 110 degrees, but you're out there in pants and you're just walking with your bag and your caddy and keeping it nice and quiet. And then you have live golf come in and there's beers and music playing and guys are out there in shorts. Oh my God, you can see a calf. And It's kind of like that where it's a lot more fun for a new younger generation. And that's not necessarily speaking just on the individual athletes becoming stronger, because they are there as well, but also the technology is completely different. You know, we're talking about wood clubs versus these new titanium and carbon infused clubs and things like that that are getting insane distances. And they've actually talked in the PGA about limiting what clubs can do, because it's becoming an issue apparently that courses just aren't long enough anymore for these players. So if we're talking about just a pure statistic, how good the players are, they're getting better. But I mean, the technology is getting so good that you're having guys that no longer can play on the courses effectively as they were designed. It's not going to be the same in baseball with that, because, you know, in general, your distance from home plate to the outfield wall is roughly about the same in most stadiums. But players are still smacking these balls out of the park sometimes, you know, and the bat isn't changing. The bat is a wood bat. So obviously the players are different. If you just compare the physical stature of the players today versus where they were when, you know, Yogi was playing and stuff, it's different. It's different. So I don't know. It's weird to me to think that old timers really wouldn't be latching onto that and understanding that.
It feels like a very baseball centric thing, especially when you talk about the Hall of Fame. I think everybody on the show knows my absolute disdain for the Baseball Writers America or Association of America. They are fucking terrible. Multiple years you have guys that don't vote for anybody. If you're a person who has a vote for the Hall of Fame and you don't fucking vote, you should lose your vote. Plain and simple. You got to vote somebody on the fucking Hall of Fame. I guarantee you one person on that fucking roster is worthy of the Hall of Fame every goddamn year.
Well, at that point, wouldn't it be an issue of they're not? I mean, the question from those writers who are voting then should be, why aren't you putting up better players every year, people that we could vote for? But I'm assuming that there's plenty of talent.
Oh, there's plenty of talent. There are guys that should be voted into the Hall of Fame. You got some fringe guys, but I mean, we get one in this year. A couple of years ago, they had none. And these used to be really large classes, and now it seems like the Baseball Writers of America they hate the steroid era, and that we're not out of that Hall of Fame voting yet. And yeah, it's just the game changed. A lot of things changed, but old baseball never changed. And I don't know if they ever will. They will not. They hate advanced statistics. They don't like the steroid era, and the writers are just refusal of the new possibly, you know, being ushered in. But that's kind of we were getting into. I was like getting heated upstairs. It was like fucking baseball people.
We can stretch this out a little bit. Are you able? Because I'm not able to pull up on a second screen here. But who is available to be voted in this year, and who actually did get voted in? And maybe we can run through that list and kind of start to put some names up on our own of people that we think should have at least warranted that look.
All right. Let's see. Maybe if I could fucking type. All right, so complete voting results. We gotta pause this video, make sure there's no audio. Let's see here. That's not the one that I want. Okay, so we will share this one. Okay. We might need to zoom in just a little bit or scroll down. All right. So on this list, all the guys.
Amber. Take that back. I am not currently in an ayahuasca den or some meth pit.
All right. So the list of guys that were up, the only one selected in Scott Rowland, 76% of the vote. You got to have at least 75% to get in. Todd Helton, really, really good first baseman. Greatest Colorado Rocky to ever play. Not getting in, does not get in. Billy Wagner, longtime guy that was regarded as one of the best relievers, doesn't get in. Like Gary Sheffield, to me, fringe. Jeff Kent is 100% a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest hitting second basemen of all time. A-Rod, he's a Hall of Famer. I don't care that he did steroids. Manny Ramirez, Hall of Famer. I don't care that he did steroids. Omar Vizquel, 13-time Gold Glove winner. Doesn't get in because he's a bad guy off the field and beat his wife, so he doesn't get voted in. Like, there are names on this list of guys that are absolutely fucking Hall of Famers.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm reading down this list, and just with my relatively limited baseball knowledge, I would say guys that should at least really be deserving of a look, if not getting in. Like you said, Todd Helton, Andrew Jones, possibly Gary Sheffield, Carlos Beltran, Alex Rodriguez, Manny Ramirez, Bobby Abreu, Jimmy Rollins, yeah, Francisco Rodriguez, maybe, and then Torrey Hunter, just because he's my Twins guy for a long time. You know, I'd love that, but maybe not as much. I mean, he was a good player.
He's Torrey Hunter. I put in the Hall of Very Good. He's not a Hall of Famer, but he's in the Hall of the Very Good. But there are guys on this list that are absolutely no doubt Hall of Famers, and they won't vote him in because of differences in opinions, analytics. It drives me fucking crazy, man. I don't get it. And, we were having that conversation this morning, so thanks, producer Amber, for sending that and making us talk about it. This actually extended the show out a little bit.
Well, it really does make me question how the players must feel about it as well, because all of these players who were playing not that long ago that are on this list, compared to, you know, your NFL, you know, you've got a couple years before you're available to be put into Hall of Fame votes. And there's definitely NFL players that deserve to be there, but just don't get enough votes. And they only have so many tries to get into the Hall of Fame. And that system kind of makes sense. And you end up getting guys definitely that feel like they should be in the Hall of Fame that end up never getting in. And it's just because there's not enough votes to go around. It's not because people aren't thinking that they're worthy of it.
Yeah, so there are guys that have published, Baseball Writers of America, that have published say, hey, this is who I voted for. It's been a popular thing. They almost used to never share it. Then since the steroid era kind of happened, they began sharing their things. There are guys that have shared it, and they turned in their ballot with nobody selected. How do you continue to vote?
Baseball is at that point right now where they need any sort of like fan support that they can to continue pushing this game forward.
They need
to
inject
be voting for Hall of Famers. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I don't get it, man, at all. And the old whites of baseball are just not wavering whatsoever. But okay, well, let's get off of baseball. Let's get into some of the shit that we actually came here to talk about. Some of those football games. All right. So last week I went 500. You went 3 for 4. If it is accurate that you went with the Bills on the money line.
I feel like I generally remember hammering the Bills because they were a Super Bowl pick for me. I know that in my actual money bets, I did do the Cincy plus the 5 or whatever. So that worked out.
All right. So we not bad. I missed on the Bills. I thought the money line for sure. I thought maybe that the weather and the offensive line would play a factor in that game, but it made no difference, dude. Joe Burrow was absolutely fucking lights out from start to finish. I don't think I'd ever felt like the Bills were in that game.
Yeah. We saw kind of the low points of the Bills that they've had this year play out in that game, where they're such a potent, high-powered offense when everything's clicking, and when things aren't clicking, they become kind of more that mediocre average offense, or a little bit more one-dimensional in the passing game. and that's where it kind of led to. Whereas on the flip side, despite the offensive line injuries of the Bills, it just seemed like they were in control the whole time, like they were meant to be there. And really, the last half of the season, the Bills have been, or excuse me, the Bengals have been playing
Fucking
so
hot.
good. They felt like they were meant to be there the whole time. They feel like a Super Bowl team,
Yeah.
the way that they've been playing. They have that aura around them. The way that Burrow is playing is cold as ice, man. And he is looking like the real deal as
Yes.
far as being a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Now, having that experience of going to the Super Bowl last year, I think only benefits them even more. And I think that it's going to be a very tough game this weekend that the Chiefs are going to be facing this Bengals team.
Yeah, I
It's going to
agree,
be real
man.
interesting.
Joe Burrow is a top 5 quarterback in this league, and he's not 5. Like he's at 4, maybe 4. I don't even know if I can put him at 4 at this point. Like he's got to be,
We're talking
top 3. Like he is
the
a
pulse
fucking
of the
baller.
league. The pulse of the league right now, yeah, he's top 3, I believe.
Yeah, God, I mean, you're talking him, Pat Mahomes, and Josh Allen. They're the 3 guys that we're seeing on this side, right? Or is Aaron Rodgers still in that conversation?
He's not in the conversation at all.
Yeah,
I don't think he's top 5. You call me disrespectful or whatnot. I don't think he's top 5.
After tossing that softball up for you. Just go.
Yeah. Look, I think that there is a strong argument right now that based on how the play went for the second half of the year, especially, that Burrow is ahead of Josh Allen at this point.
Yeah, that's it feels like that.
The way that he has been playing has been just so outstanding. I think your argument,
people don't like it.
Hey, and I would say that a lot of times through a majority of the year, Burrow was probably top 5, especially early in the year, top 10, because he wasn't playing as good. But if we were just going week to week, feel the pulse of how things are going, he's just climbed consistently. Consistently. So Mahomes has definitely got to be brought up there as
Mahomes is 1, I think.
1, 2.
Josh just played himself into not being like he kind of looked bad this year. The turnovers were a big problem at the end of the year.
Yeah, they were.
That hurt that team a lot. But yeah, it's going to be a good game today. But I did not necessarily see a blowout. I could have saw Bengals keeping the +4 or keeping it close and losing, or maybe winning by a field goal. But they took it to the Bills. They were dominant throughout. It never felt like they were in it.
It's very true. And it looks like we got power again, so I'm going to try to fire everything up.
Hell yeah. All right, so while you're firing all that shit up, let's kind of get into a recap of the other game that took place on the AFC side. The Chiefs and the Jags, it never felt like the Jags were close to being in it, except for the fact that Pat Mahomes went out of that game. I got on this show last week, and I fucking went hard with some numbers and into my diatribe about this is the time that the Chiefs finally do cover. And I said the only thing that keeps the Chiefs from covering is if Pat Mahomes goes out of the game with an injury. And what fucking happens? Pat Mahomes gets, hip drop tackled and goes out of the game for quite some time, and they are not able to cover. So the Chiefs -9.5 was not good because Pat missed a quarter of football. But other than that, it kind of went the way I expected. Chiefs pretty much ruled the game. Trevor Lawrence did some nice things. He's going to be a staple in the playoffs every year for quite some time, assuming they can build a good team around him. But your takes, your analysis from what we watched with the Chiefs, are they ready to roll today? Can they beat the Bengals based on what we saw last week?
That's a tough one. Can they beat the Bengals? Absolutely. I think that they are. There's a reason why they were the number 1 seed in the AFC, and the opportunity for them to win at home is absolutely there. But with Mahomes' ankle being what it is right now, The reports coming out about Kelsey having back spasms. Now, I've had back spasms, and they're
I
to the
fucking
point
had
where
one last night, and I slept on the couch. It's the only place I can get comfortable.
I've had it where I can't go to the fucking bathroom like a normal human being because I can't sit on the toilet because my back is spasming so bad. Back spasms are no fucking joke. It feels like you lose control of your body while having just pain shooting all over. So terrible, terrible. But I think that he'll probably be good to play. Through my experience, I know that I have gotten steroid injections and probably pretty limited steroid injections when that happens and been on pain medication for it. And it gets me a little bit more mobile. And I'm sure when it comes down to the AFC championship game, that they're loading him up with all the good juice to make him feel good. He's their best receiving option. I mean, we saw just how many receptions he had in the first half. I want to say he had like 10 receptions or 13 receptions in like the first half of football. It was huge. But when you were watching Mahomes out there limping around, having to basically push off of one leg the whole time, it was big. It was big for them. So he's been practicing this week. It doesn't look like it's been too much of an issue. But once you get into the game, out in the colder weather, you take a couple hits. How long before it actually starts to really
be
hurt?
hitting that fucking Toradol early and hit that Toradol at half too, because they're going to need him if they want to have a chance. I think he's going to have to go off.
Yeah, you're gonna need to see a very good game for Pat Mahomes to have it truly work out for him.
All right, and how did you feel about the Jags? You got the cover 9.5. I was obviously I never want to see anybody get hurt, but I especially don't want to see the person get hurt who's the only fucking thing that was keeping them from covering. So how did you feel about the 9.5 now that you actually made it happen?
I was a little scared that 9.5 probably wasn't going to happen. Probably wasn't going to happen unless Mahomes got hurt there. That's really what kept them in the game as close as they were. But I like this Jags team. I think they're going to be real scary going forward. So they're going to be fun to watch. I absolutely love what Trevor Lawrence has done. It's just kind of scary to think about how good they're going to be when they actually have a full year of being underneath their new head coach with a draft that they want, like getting the guys that they want, the system they want. I mean, they got Calvin Ridley that's going to be added to this team as well next year as a receiving option.
Which I feel like is just an extra. I feel like he's the same thing as Christian Kirk, so I'll be interested to see how that profiles. But yeah, I agree. There we go. Papa's on.
Let's see here.
How many of me can I get on here?
So I've done at least two of me's just to check alignment of features. But all right, so yeah, the Jags are going to be very good. They're out, but we'll get into our pick for that afternoon game. I know I kind of did this backwards, but that's what we're going to fucking do. We'll do a little recap of each game, how they did, and then we'll pick that game. So Chiefs, Bengals today. They are playing in Kansas City. Don't worry, there was no need for that third fucking site. Joe Burrow let that be known as well. I felt like the back and forth between the Chiefs and the Bengals this week has been weird and kind of gross. I don't know if you saw the mayor videos.
I saw a little bit of the stuff out there. You think you just would focus on your next game?
Yeah,
but it wasn't like that for him.
No, there was a lot of conversations, a lot of people talking, and then the mayor's making the videos that Joe Burrow is fucking Pat Mahomes' daddy, and then the back. I don't like, just guys. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for enjoying yourself. I love when people have fun and make the games fun, but like also maybe read the situation. The one read by the Cincinnati mayor, his last name is Pure Evil. Like it's literally spelled almost exactly that way. And then it read like he was reading a monologue from an Austin Powers movie and he was the villain. And it was a promotional element that should have never gotten out. That's what it sounded like. And I was like, what the fuck is going on right now? It didn't make sense to me on why we're having these videos.
Yeah. I guess whatever you got to do to pump your squad up or something like that, but it just seems a little bit uncouth, unnecessary.
Yeah, wildly unnecessary for a game that's going to be really good. They're playing in Arrowhead right now. The line, Chiefs -2. This line has moved a lot this week because we're not sure if the injury is going to be a factor, not going to be a factor. Walking boot, no walking boot. And over under on this game, 47.5. So decently high scoring. Evo, what do you got for this game?
All right. So I'm actually just going to straight up go ahead and pull up my bets because I did the same thing I did last week. As soon as the lines were set on Monday, I went ahead and made the bets here. So I'll give you guys actually what I put out there if I can actually hit on some more money with this one. As soon as this wants to sign in. Now that I got good, cool running internet again.
Hell yeah.
All right. So, and we're on the Bengals and 49ers. Excuse me.
No, I don't believe that we are. However, I think I know where we're going today.
Well, that I don't know why I said that, but see, we got Chiefs -2 over Chiefs. Under a 47. I got it. Bengals money line to win this one.
Bengals money line.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what was the line? Do you remember what the line was when you said it, or no?
I have no fucking clue. I think the Chiefs were possibly favored at the time. I'm not sure.
Okay. Because this line has gone from kind of where it is right now to Cincinnati -1.5. Now Cincinnati back to dogs at +2. So this line has been all over the fucking place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this does fully come down to those injuries, particularly to Pat Mahomes. But the Kelsey news probably has made some movement as well. Kansas City being the number 1 seed, being at home, they should probably be favored. Once you factor in Mahomes and Kelsey, that's where the difference comes into play, and it really makes it a much closer game. I mean, I could have seen this being Kansas City -2 without those injuries. With the injuries, I feel like it's got to be way more even. The way that Burrow has been able to play there at Arrowhead, they call it, Burrowhead for a reason. Yeah. Burrow has played really good out there versus Mahomes. Looks like it's going to be 35 degrees or so. Pretty decent weather day for him. I don't know, man. That's, to me, the Bengals, the way that they have been rolling, I think that you can see some Mahomes magic possibly, but it's that ankle is just going to be so difficult to work with. If you watched the game, you saw how difficult it was for him to run plays, any of those stretch handoffs and stuff like that, where he's hopping on one foot to get the ball handed off to the running back. It's just difficult. The other thing with Mahomes in the playoffs is that he runs the ball and extends the play so much more than he does in the regular season. He's not going to be able to do that as well. I mean, sure, there's a possibility that his ankle is feeling just that much better, and they have him taped up and filled with the juice as much as possible.
Yeah, they got him on some shots.
But I just don't see it happening. I don't see him not being out there and feeling the effects of that ankle. And that's going to limit what they can do compared to, what their normal postseason play would be like. I like the receiving options they have out there, but the only explosive big time receiving option that they have is Kelsey. And with him also possibly having some of those back issues, it's real tough for me, man. When you look at how Burrow's playing, you look at how the offensive line performed despite being as beat up as they were.
Yeah,
it didn't look like there was a problem.
They didn't fucking give up a sack, did they?
No, it didn't look like there was a problem at all. They were out there ready to play. Now, on the Bengals side, their defense is a little bit worse. Eli Apple is a fucking garbage player, in my opinion.
Hey, he's performed well this playoff season.
He
He's
has,
looked
and I
not
think once you
bad.
get into those pressure situations, that's if we see a cornerback give up a touchdown in this game, it's going to be Eli Apple. I'll put that out there. I wish I could find a little.
Especially
prop
now
for
that the talk is heightened. I think
Absolutely.
that's probably accurate. So it feels like you're definitely leaning Cincinnati money line here for your pick as well, holding true to what you bet.
Yeah. I'm gonna. If you want to play it a little bit more safe, by all means, go ahead and take the points for the for the Bengals. You could do Bengals +2. I think I took the money line at the time because it was much more heavily favored towards the Chiefs, and the it wouldn't have been worth my money as much. But I wanted to make sure that I did a parlay, get both the teams in. I think they're going to make it to the Super Bowl. I think that the way that the Bengals have played, they can go ahead and make it to the Super Bowl in this game. That they're going to win this game. I got the Bengals in this one.
Yeah, so I think the Bengals are actually a better team, and we kind of started talking about it. You alluded to Eli Apple, but this Bengals defense has started to play really good fucking football at the right goddamn time, especially that front four. They have been so good in the front four. They've been able to generate pressure, make plays happen that I think that the Bengals are going to be able to kind of get after and cause problems for Mahomes, who is now going to be limited in his mobility.
Yeah, and that's on the flip side. The Chiefs defense has some big name guys out there, specifically Chris Jones. But if you look at how Chris Jones has played in the playoffs, I don't think that he's had a single sack in his career in the playoffs.
No, I don't think he has either. He's good at stopping the run, I can tell you that, but I don't know if he's ever had a sack in the playoffs. I think that was shown last week, that stat, right?
Yeah.
During the game, yeah.
And I just don't get it. I mean, sure, offensive lines and offensive schemes can work towards stopping just him, but in order to be a championship team, you can't just stop one guy. You got to be stopping all of those good defenders. He's just not as effective for whatever reason in the playoffs. Maybe the pressure gets to him. I don't know. But if you want to mess Burrow up, you have to take advantage of the hurting offensive line and put him on the ground. And just didn't happen last week.
That did not. And honestly, I think that they've done enough and they've found enough ways to utilize their backs as well in the Bengals that they're starting to take pressure off of Joe, just not by having better pass rush, by play call and by play design as well. Samaje Perine has been really good for them, catching the ball out of the backfield. Joe Mixon is up or down, but I also don't necessarily love the Chiefs' defense outside of probably a Chris Jones, who for some reason appears to be less effective in the playoffs. So I'm going to go Bengals, but I'm going to take the points just because, listen, if I can get free points on a championship game on a team that I really like, I feel good about it. The odds are obviously a little less, but at the same time, I want to win this bet because I'm going to go with a Bengals +2, and I'm going to try to make this a 4-leg parlay for myself. I'm going over. 47.5 is not enough. I think it'll be higher than that.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. The only way that I don't think that it's possible is if we do see Mahomes and that Kansas City Chiefs team be in a detriment because of the injuries.
Yeah, but I still think that even if the Chiefs struggle, they put up 21 points.
They should.
I mean, they're good enough to do that offensively.
Yeah. I think that the over is probably a good bet. But if you're a Chiefs fan, you absolutely have reason to think that your team is going to win this game. I talked to Tani Ortega. They're here yesterday, 2 days ago. I talked to him, and he said the same thing. He's like, I got a really good feeling that we're going to win this game. He's like, it's going to be very tough. He's like, but I got a really good feeling that we'll win this game. That they'll work through the injury stuff. That they will just make it happen because we are down to the wire. I was like, all right, I get it.
If that's going to happen, there's one guy that's going to have to go amazing today outside of Travis Kelce. If Travis Kelce's banged up, Pacheco is going to have his breakout game. If that's going to happen.
So Pacheco has been a very nice find for them for sure. McKinnon, though, McKinnon just seems to turn it off or turn it on in the playoffs. Jerick McKinnon, former Vikings running back, that guy is just an end zone finder.
I mean, he
when it
caught
comes to the playoffs.
fucking so many touchdown passes this year.
Yeah, he's been fantastic, especially in the second half of the year. Last year, he had several touchdowns in the playoffs. I love Jerick McKinnon. He was one of my guys. I know that the 49ers fans out there are not happy with his production when he went to San Fran for a little bit, but he's been great for the Chiefs out there. And they're kind of showing that you don't need a true number one back there in KC as well, because they're able to get the thump out of Pacheco and that receiving option and stuff in space out of McKinnon. Those backs definitely will have to do some good work. And I think Kadarius Toney as well. Like, he's shown that while he's limited in some of the catches and stuff that he makes, that he does have big play breakout potential in him when he does get the ball in his hand in space. So you're going to have to see. That's the thing with this Chiefs offense, is that Kelsey's their big name, but they do have a lot of other guys that are really good. They're not great, but they're really good. And if they're able to spread the ball around to all of them, it really makes it tough to defend.
Yeah. All right. So I got Bengals +2. You're going Bengals money line. I'm going to pop our picks up from last week back up. All right. So we were both on the Eagles. I had them to cover. You just took the money line. I felt very good about them, and they proved me right. Dallas was a fraud. I kind of started getting that feeling towards the end of the season there. Like, they had times where they were really good. They had times where they were really fucking bad, and Dak was not good. Not good for the majority of the year. The defense can only do so much. The Eagles are very fucking good at football, though. And now that they have Jalen Hurts back in the rotation, in the rhythm, and they're playing hot, like, they are an absolutely fucking dangerous team. And they showed that by beating the piss out of the Cowboys last week.
Yeah. This to me was more of a foregone conclusion. The Cowboys would have had to gone out and play their best possible game. That was kind of their Super Bowl last weekend, and they just didn't perform up to snuff. They just really didn't. Whether it was Anthony Barr taking some bad moves in coverage and allowing some short underneath stuff there in the middle of the field, really, it was Tony Pollard going down, having to focus on Zeke Elliott being your main running back, and we all know that he's kind of washed up. It's like he's really fallen back to that. You need a guy to go out there and get you 2 yards, he's going to get you 3.5. If you need a guy to get you 5 yards, he's going to get you 3.5. And he's definitely not a good center, as we saw.
Center's definitely not the play.
And Dak just did not perform as good as he has in the past or needed to in order to win that game. I think Dak, he's getting a lot of heat. And I think that he has the potential to be a really good quarterback. We've seen really good quarterback play out of him. I think that Kellen Moore in that system there just doesn't really work out well for him. And honestly, we had talked about, or at least I know I had talked about, if the Cowboys lose this game, hey, Sean Payton going there, it kind of seems like that's not going to happen, because Jerry Jones, even though he said that it was sickening how it ended, I'm
an idiot. I said McCarthy the wrong goddamn team. Did I say the wrong team? No. Who did they play last week?
The Eagles played
talking about the Cowboys, right?
Yeah.
No, they did. My fucking thing is way off, or I'm a week behind. I'm sorry. Ignore me. I'm retarded. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that either. All right. Anyways, let's continue on. But it was not great. They were bad.
I think Dak has the potential to be really good, but I just don't think that scheme works out best for him. I think that the shine on Kellen Moore being a young offensive line has kind of worn off, because let's be real, the Cowboys offense has tons of talent, like a lot of talent out there, and they're not making it happen. There's a disconnect between the style of play of their quarterback and their receivers and their offensive coaches. Now, Jerry Jones came out and said that, he was sickened by how everything was going, but he wasn't going to move on Mike McCarthy. They went and fired a whole bunch of other coaches, and they haven't come out and said for sure that Kellen Moore is going to be their guy going forward. But at this point, I don't know that you can fire him and find someone better. But I really think Jerry should have just pulled the trigger and gotten rid of Mike McCarthy at that point, because you can't keep on having this sort of stuff happening. You can't have that dumb fat idiot sitting there on the sideline looking up at the scoreboard with his mouth agape, thinking, how did this happen? It's because you're not a coach. You've got so much talent on your team, and you're not putting it together. You got to move on. I think the Cowboys are going to be a scary team still going forward, but they're going to be that team that is basically one and done at best in the playoffs because they don't have the coaching staff to push them through forward. They're going to have to hit on like every pick in the draft and have a phenomenal free agency where the talent outweighs that coaching staff, in my opinion. But on the flip side, the Eagles are just they are phenomenal.
All right, so I gotta stop this because this is driving me crazy. I screwed up. I apologize. The Eagles did not play the Cowboys last week. The 49ers played the Cowboys. I don't know what the hell we're talking about. The 49ers played the Cowboys. That because it was the Zeke play at the end. Yeah. So I had it right the first time, and then I confused myself.
It was the Giants. Yeah, fuck the Giants. Giants played
okay, so all the same things that we just said about the fucking Cowboys
we're just talking about
the Giants. So the Giants were not good last week. The Eagles beat the piss out of them. So this show has gone off the rails because I forgot who played who last week.
I take plenty of blame for that too, but I mean, I'm definitely operating on basically no calories and a lot of dehydration right now. So I'm trying my best.
No, I apologize. So the Eagles
all that shit I said about the Cowboys still stands. They fucking
correct
are a good team with bad coaching. I was kind of surprised that it was as close of a game as it was, 19-12, their final between the 49ers and the Cowboys. 49ers are a better team there though. Yeah, that's basically all I got is on the Cowboys is they should have fired McCarthy.
Essentially, we have rolled both of these games into one analysis group. The 49ers are pretty good at football. They're very good. They play really good defense. Their offense has potential to be really good. They played the Cowboys last week, who were not able to get enough stops, but they did play decently. However, all the offensive shit that I said about the Cowboys rings true. They cannot fucking score. Dak has played bad. He continues to turn the ball over. The Eagles were a nice story. Good job, Dayball. Glad that you were able to get some good work in. Danny Dimes is not the answer. Saquon's leaving in fucking free agency probably, unless you find a way to franchise it. But you also got to worry about Danny Dimes as well.
Yeah, if you know what, if you're able to bring Danny Dimes back on the Giants at a very reasonable contract, I think you do it. I think it would be smart because you showed this year that you're able to win with him, and then he had his best statistical season ever this year, and that comes a lot down to coaching. But his stats were still that of a average, above average quarterback, and you can't expect that every year. I mean, don't get me wrong, we can point out all of the issues on that offense as far as, they don't basically have any receiving options. You're almost one-dimensional as a running team with Saquon and Danny Dimes, the Vanilla Vic being able to run the ball. If you were to get some better receiving options out there for him, maybe something else can happen, but I still don't think that he's a downfield passer. He's a short-range passer and a guy who can be mobile. And while you're in a transition period, if you're able to bring him on for a couple more years at like a $20 to $25 million per year rate, I think that that's a bit of a steal. It's a bargain while you can go out there and try to get yourself a better quarterback in the draft. But that team's just not very good. Like the games that Danny Dimes looked his best was going up against the 31st defense in the league with the Vikings. We make everyone look good, and those were his best games. That's why Danny Dimes did not look good going up against the Eagles, who are actually a solid defense out there. And that's why we also saw a trouncing of 38-7.
So Mama Carlisle agreed. The Giants are so forgettable that we forgot who the fuck played them last week.
I didn't watch that game because I saw what the score was pretty early on and saw how they were playing. I was like, this is going to be a garbage game.
Yeah. So let's move on into the game that is happening this weekend. the Eagles versus the 49ers. This is a very interesting matchup. I've been riding really high on this fucking 49er squad for a few weeks now. We kind of started saying maybe that they're the best team in the NFC. What is about 5 weeks ago, when they were right towards the tail end of the season. I mean, they were hitting on all cylinders, man. Does a close matchup last week against the Cowboys, because that's who they played last week. Does that take away anything, make you worry a little bit about this matchup and how you're feeling about the 49ers? Does the Eagles' dominance really make a difference because they were playing the very forgettable Giants? How do you feel about this one, man? This is a tough game in my opinion.
It is a tough game to pick, and it does give me a little bit more pause to see just how close that 49ers Cowboys game was. I mean, 19-12, the way that the 49ers have been playing. I mean, their defense obviously showed up, only allowing 12 points. That's what they've been doing for the better part of this year, is allowing teams maybe a total of like 16, 17 points throughout the game. Good offenses only allowing that much. They're going to have a task ahead of them going up against this Eagles offense, who with, Hurts and AJ and all the weapons they got out there, it's going to be a tough task. Going into Philly is going to be a tough task. It's going to be really a question of, can the 49ers offense perform against that Philly defense? And the weak point for Philly is their defense. And that's not saying that they're a weak defense at all. They're a good defense.
Yeah, so they're pretty good on defense. I don't know if they're
a very good defense. Yeah.
I don't know if they line up in the personnel groupings are going to be a huge factor for the 49ers in this game. There are guys that they have out on the edge that I think match up very well. Like Darius Slay is a stud. However, I worry about maybe can their linebackers keep up with a Juszczyk, Kelsey, different alignments inside, getting guys like McCaffrey out of the backfield. That is going to be tough. They're very good on defense, but the matchups are interesting for them. They're tough matchups.
The interchangeability of that 49ers offense that Shanahan has out there, when you go through your scripts for the week, and I heard this on one of the football podcasts that I listened to while I was sitting in O'Hare Airport for fucking 12 hours. Their install on a weekly basis is, for offense, 65, 70 pages. It's a ginormous install, but that's because they put in so many different looks for the same sorts of plays, and they don't say, hey, Kittle's our tight end, Juszczyk's our H-back. They just put in an H-back, they put in a tight end, they put in the positions, and then they switch up which players are where. So you don't know what's going to be coming at you because you've got so many guys that are multiple. Kittle, Juszczyk, McCaffrey, Debo, they all do different things, not just their position. So you're able to have a lot of movement at the line before the play is snapped. You're able to have guys line up in different spots. Shanahan has one of the more innovative offenses that is difficult for a defense to read. If they're able to create that confusion for the Eagles defense, that's their key to success. And Purdy just has to be the guy up there in front of the orchestra, just waving a little
his
fucking wand.
Stick.
Yep. Because he doesn't need to be phenomenal for this offense to work correctly. It is really going to come down to coaching for me on this one. And at the end of the day, I've never been a Sirianni fan. I don't know that I've said that, but I've never really been a Sirianni fan. What he's been able to do with that team, by all means, is great. But there's a lot of talent with the sub coaches there, and a lot of talent for the players on that team.
From 49 ERS. Look, I can
to accept.
He was ready to start diving in already. Joe Rockstar, my man, you are on with the Lineman Lounge. It sounded like you are ready to fucking just start diving right in. What do you got?
What the hell, man? I don't know what's going on, man. Everybody's got the Eagles. I get it. It's a 2-point spread, 2.5, right? Like, this is crazy.
So yeah, the
You guys
spread
take
is,
the Eagles? I didn't even hear it.
the spread is fairly close. Like
It's -3 for Philly right now, over under 45.
Yeah,
People are
Philly
acting like we shouldn't even show up and bother playing.
So I don't know about that. I haven't heard anybody saying that you guys are fucking gone. Maybe that's inside of 49er fan circles, but I've been hearing a lot of people take you guys just because I think that the coaching will matter. I think something else will matter more, but I haven't got to my analysis yet. This is going to be a very, very tough game. I could see the Niners plus the points being a very, very good bet. I could see the Eagles money line being a good bet. There's a lot of ways that this could go. This is a very close matchup as far as I'm concerned, because you guys can do a lot of different things to that team with alignment. And I don't know if they match up great across the middle, but also the Eagles have been dominant all year.
Oh, yeah. I see this as a 50-50 game. Unlike all these Eagle fans I'm watching on TV that they're running around spelling their team's name like it's the first word they learned in freaking special education class.
Actually, we had Roberta Gussolini did that exact same thing inside of the YouTube comments.
I know he did. I've been watching this all morning. I'm like, are these guys like so proud of themselves they can spell a freaking name? The hell. Hey, look, Mommy, I learned a new word in school today.
All right, so
Let's go Niners.
I know. We know Joe's on the Niners. Joe, you got anything else for us before we let you go? We'll get back to our analysis and we'll pick this game.
I just got to talk about, so Cowboys, right? Cowboys beat a bad team, and everybody started like kind of getting on the Cowboy bandwagon in the media, all right? Eagles just beat a bad team. So
not this media. This media was not on board.
No, I know you guys weren't, but you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yes.
National media, juggernaut.
National media is always on the Cowboys.
Getting all these Eagle fans excited about nothing. Listen, you beat a bad team last week. You played well all season. The Niners are just as good as the Eagles are. I don't like hearing all this, hey, we got it in the bag. Niners shouldn't even bother showing up kind of bullcrap. But I do acknowledge this home game is going to be a tough environment. All right. I do acknowledge that the Eagles got a great defensive line that's going to be really, really tough to deal with. I do acknowledge that the Eagles have a great offense and the Niners are going to have trouble with a quarterback who runs the ball. But it's not beyond the realm of comprehension here that the Niners play a damn good game and end up coming out with a win. That's all I got for you guys. Again, I'll see you next week if we win. If not, I'll see you in August.
All right, brother. Well, we appreciate you. And we'll get into our analysis right now.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right, later, brother.
All right, so I'm with Joe on this one. I do think that it's understandable for Philly to be favored based on how they played last week, how they played all year, and the fact that they're playing at home. The matchup is a pretty good matchup, but and I haven't really heard it anywhere, and maybe I've been kind of not tapped into the national media as much just because I've been traveling. But I haven't really heard anything about the 49ers basically not going to be showing up to this game or that it's all going to be the Eagles.
I have not heard any of that. I feel like I've probably heard more people on the Niners than I have the Eagles.
And that's the Niners have looked damn near unstoppable for the second half of the season. The Eagles have shown, the Eagles have shown some of their weaknesses in those past 10 weeks, whether it's from Hurts being hurt or from sometimes getting gashed in the run game. They went out there and signed some, more D linemen to kind of help out with that. But yeah, I mean, these teams stack up well against each other. It's going to be a pretty damn close match. This could definitely go down to the wire. And it makes it easier to kind of take some of the spreads in this one. I'm going again with another money line bet. I'm going to be taking the 49ers money line in this one. I do think that our Super Bowl matchup will be Cincinnati Bengals and the San Francisco 49ers. I will run through here real quick all the bets that I do have going though. So I've got a Chris McCaffrey over 69.5 rushing yards and over 4.5 receptions. I have the Bengals +2, the Niners +3. I've got the Niners money line and Bengals money line. And I also have a same game parlay for the Bengals and Kansas City Chiefs of T. Higgins over 57.5 total receiving yards. Joe Burrow over 278.5 passing yards. T. Higgins to score a touchdown, and Jamar Chase over 6.5 receptions. So those are the bets that I'm rolling into this weekend with. Just under an hour until we get to see this first game between the 49ers and the Eagles. I know that Joe Rockstar, Roberto Gussolini, they're pumped up right now, ready to watch this game. I thought I was going to have to run as soon as we were done with the show and get myself to a sports bar because I didn't have any sort of internet or anything to watch these shows completely legally. But yeah, I'm back in business now, baby. So I get to watch some good football.
All right. So you are on 49ers money line, and you gave us your bets. So this is going to be a very close game. I 100% agree. I do not think people are saying that the Niners aren't going to show up. There's no need. I think people are higher on the Niners than they are the Eagles. Both of these teams do two things really well. They play good defense and they run the ball. So in the playoffs, those are two of the more important things, given the elements, especially, playing in a Philly. I would see those two things probably as a little bit of a wash, the defense and the running games for both of these teams. That's going to lead me to the quarterback position. I love Brock Purdy. I really like this kid. I think he's going to be really good. I think he should go into camp next year as the starter at probably he should be named the starter. At the worst, he should go in to camp as a quarterback competition, him and Trey Lance. We'll see who wins.
There's already talks of Trey Lance being possibly out there for like a 3rd round pick right now.
Yeah. So Brock Purdy's really good, but Jalen Hurts played MVP football this year, man. Mm-hmm. He was so good. They're playing in Philly. I'm going to go with the Eagles on the money line here. I think that they can win this game. I could go 49ers in points. I could go 49ers money line. But the difference in the quarterback play on two teams that are this fucking close, I think, is the deciding factor for me. I will take Jalen Hurts over Brock Purdy, at least for now, until Brock continues to grow, especially in this offense. But going Eagles on the money line. And I'm also taking the over in this game as well. That's not part of these picks, but that is a bet that I'm going to make as soon as we are done here, and I'll tell you the other bets that I got.
All right. Hey, it makes sense. I think really as NFL fans, everyone should be happy with the games this weekend. We're talking about two games that are going to come down to the wire, two games that are going to be less than 1-score games, essentially. And that's how Vegas has it shaking out. A two-point spread in the Bengals Chiefs, a 3-point spread in the 49ers Eagles, both of them being relatively high scoring. They're going to be some fun games to watch for sure. And it's going to come down to the wire, I think, on both of them. I don't think we're going to see any sort of a blowout. I don't think we're going to see more than a 7-point lead possibly at any given time in these games. If we start seeing, like, that's the one question mark I have for the 49ers is, does Purdy finally start to crumble? But he's had so much moxie. So much, like, he looks the part, man. He looks so good. He looks like he's meant to be there, and I can't discount that. Hurts has had a better year as a quarterback, even if we're just talking about the smaller sample size from Purdy versus Hurts' entire year. Hurts has looked so good. He has played an MVP caliber football for the entire year. But it's just going to come down to the hot hand here, and I think that the 49ers have shown that their defense this entire year has basically never wavered. And you do have some games versus, that the Eagles have played the Commanders and stuff like that, where we've seen how they can be beaten.
Correct. Now, and I know that Joe Rockstar remembers this. I don't think we've seen too much of it this year, except for maybe week 1. The 49ers do struggle with mobile quarterbacks. Guys can get out and win the pocket. They saw that with the Justin Fields early in the season, but that was also a bad weather game. They're not great against quarterbacks that can break the pocket and win from outside the pocket or beat you with their legs. So
big Bosa game.
Yeah. All right. So guys, my bets for this weekend that I got rolling out. I'm going to just pick this shit up. Bengals money line, Joe Burrow 2+ passing touchdowns, and the Joe Mixon 60+ yards. This is on FanDuel. This is actually AJ Hawk's bet. The PMI guys, Pat McAfee Incorporated, they get little promotions, and AJ Hawk, that is his bet. So boosted the plus 400 odds. Joe Burrow to have 200+ yards and 2 touchdowns versus the Chiefs. I feel very good about that. That's slam dunk easy. Same game parlay. Jalen Hurts plus 200 yards. McCaffrey 25 rushing yards. Miles Sanders 25 rushing yards. George Kittle 25 receiving. Debo 25 receiving. Devontae 25 receiving. AJ Brown 40 receiving, and an AJ Brown anytime touchdown. I need a lot of legs on that one to hit. So, but it's all very, very lowly yards.
Yeah, for sure.
And then that is it until I make this pick that I got. So I got overs in both games. Bengals +2, Eagles money line. That's what I'm going to roll for a full slate parlay. I don't like doing 2-leg parlays. I could probably do a 3-leg, but I feel good about overs in both of these games. These are teams that can score the fucking football. So,
all right. Well, that pretty much wraps it up, I guess, for our championship weekend that we're about to get kicked off in here. Less than 50 minutes till game time.
Hell yeah.
Exciting games for sure.
Yeah, and you got some time to get your bets in. You can run back and watch the majority of this show again before the games get started. But guys, yeah, we're gonna get the fuck out of here so we can get. I'm gonna get upstairs and get the heating pad back on my back. My back's hurting again. But I'm excited for football. We love you guys. We are on this YouTube page, simulcasted to Facebook, Twitter. You can listen to us anywhere podcasts are found. Interact with the show on basically all social platforms. We love you. We appreciate you. We're going to be back next week, even though we won't have a football game next week.
Yeah, we can start looking at certain things like prop bets if they're starting to go up and things like that.
Hopefully prop bets will start hitting.
And we had one head coaching vacancy filled this week with Frank Reich.
We did.
Going off to Carolina. But next week, like I said, this week is when we're going to start to see the coaching things start to fall in place with Reich going there. Now everything else is going to start happening over this next week. So next week we'll probably have a lot more coaching vacancies and stuff like that to talk about. So we'll have some good info for you and some recaps of the games from this weekend.
But guys, with that, we're going to get out of here. We appreciate you. We love you. We'll see you next week. Let's get the fuck out of here. See you.
Welcome to the Lineman Lounge, hosted by Mike and Evo. Calling their shots and being outlandish.
Breaking news from the Lineman Lounge. My fantasy football team just took a huge fucking hit. And that also makes it even more likely that the Raiders are going to beat the Ravens on Monday night. Le'Veon Bell is about to be your starter. Latavius Murray is going to go there as well. Jesus, fuck my ass.
Get ready for the thickest podcast in the game. Coming to you from Hangar 6, where sleeves are optional.